Story time of when I unknowingly hung out with a famous actress's boyfriend. This was back in 2011. I was working at a strip club as a cocktail waitress. I had just broken up with my fiance of a year and a half, and I was definitely ready to start seeing some people and maybe just date. And before you say what I know you're thinking, it is a bad idea to meet guys at a strip club. Don't do it. So this guy comes in with his friends. I had no idea who he was. I'd never seen his face before. I served his table the whole night, and the whole night he just wanted to talk to me. He didn't get any dances from any of the other girls, so we proceeded to talk about acting because he was also an actor. We talked about life, music, and food, blah, 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 blah. He was just so charming. He knew exactly what to say, and I was totally falling for it. Eventually, he asked me for my phone number. I gave it to him. It didn't even occur to me to ask him if he was single or not. I assumed if he was giving me his phone number, he was probably single. As soon as he leaves, he texts me and asks me if I wanted to go to a party he's hosting the following night. I said yes. So the following night, I show up at his house, and I only find him and one other guy. He said everyone else went to get drinks. It definitely scared me that I was alone with him and one other guy that I didn't know, so come back for part 2 and 3. Part 2. So because I'm with this guy at his house and I realize that I'm by myself with him and his friend and I don't know them, I get a little bit nervous and I sit down at the table and I just don't speak for a few minutes. Then I started thinking, should I just go home because this is kind of weird? I don't want to be hanging out with two dudes that I don't even know. By the way, this was taking place in the backyard. I hadn't been inside the house. Finally, a few minutes later, a group of friends show up and there were girls in the group, so I was like, okay, I can relax now. They went inside the house to make drinks, so he asked me if I wanted to get in the jacuzzi. I said no because I don't have a swimsuit. Then he goes inside the house, brings back a swimsuit, and he's like, don't worry, we have plenty. And by we, I thought he meant him and his friend. Stupid of me, I know, right? Then he puts his hand on my knee and tells his friend to leave to go get his drinks. His friend very obediently leaves, and I was just like, okay, that's weird. As soon as we're by ourselves, he starts trying to kiss me, and he said, hurry up, we only have a few minutes. And then I said, can you slow down? And he said, no, hurry up, we only have a few minutes. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, my friend's gonna come back soon. Obviously, it was really weird. I was really uncomfortable, and I had to keep pushing his hand off of me, which was really annoying. So I said to him, I have to go to the bathroom. Part 3. So I'm by myself with this guy in the jacuzzi, and he keeps trying to come on to me, and I keep telling him no. Because he was trying to kiss me and I kept trying to push his hand away, I said I have to go to the bathroom. His friend finally comes out like 2 seconds later, which felt like an eternity to me. So he comes into the jacuzzi and this other guy just plays it off and pretends like he wasn't just trying to kiss me, which I just found so weird. So I grab a towel and I go inside the house looking for the bathroom. And as I'm walking through the house looking for the bathroom, I just see pictures of him with this other girl, this other famous actress. And I'm just like, wait a second. He's kissing her in the pictures. Oh, they're on the red carpet in this picture. Oh, this is her boyfriend. And I realize I'm standing in the house of this very famous actress with her boyfriend who's trying to hook up with me. Obviously, I left. He begged me not to leave and he kept texting me. Years later, that actress came out and said that he was abusive and that he tried to choke her. And I totally get that sense from him because he was so aggressive with me too. She even had to get a restraining order from him, but now she's engaged to someone else. And no, I never was able to get in contact with her to tell her what happened. My husband refused to touch me on our wedding night and says that it's my fault. Our wedding was only 2 weeks ago, and to this day, he still has not touched me. Here's the thing, we had an arranged marriage. My family is extremely traditional, and where we come from, it's normal to have arranged marriages. When I was 12 years old, my parents told me who I was going to end up marrying. This all seemed very normal to me growing up because I saw my sisters and cousins doing it. But now that I'm in this, I realize how terrible it is. My now husband didn't actually grow up in the same country I did. In fact, we had only met a week before the actual wedding. I had a really bad feeling a month before the wedding though. So I told my parents I did not want to marry him. That's when they told me that if I didn't go through with the marriage, they would disown me. I would have nowhere to live, no money, and no family. So, of course, I agreed to marry him. A week before the wedding, my parents hosted a dinner for his family and mine. When he came in through the door, I was happy to see that he was actually attractive, but he didn't look at me once throughout the whole night. Part 2 is up. My new husband refused to touch me on our wedding night and says it's all my fault. Finally met a week before the wedding. When he came in through the door, I was so happy to see that he was actually attractive. But this man barely looked at me the entire night. Parents presented us to each other and he glanced at me. That was it. He was extremely cold and basically didn't speak to any member of my family. The only person he did speak to was my father, of course. I spent the entire dinner trying to make eye contact with him, but not once did it happen. Thankfully, the dinner only lasted about 2 hours and his parents and him left. As soon as they did, I burst into tears. Also, I know I'm a beautiful girl. I've had many suitors come to my house and ask my parents for my hand in marriage. They had agreed to this arranged marriage so long ago that it never even gave any other guys a chance. The worst part is that one of the guys that asked to marry me a few years ago, he and I went to the same school, got along, and dare I say liked each other. At least he would look me in the face. I told my parents that he didn't even look at me once. My dad said that I was completely overreacting, but my mother agreed with me, thank God. She told my dad that my fiance's behavior was completely unacceptable, and that the least he could have done was at least said hello to me. My mom was also upset that he didn't even say hello to her, and that he was openly disrespecting our family. I tried to convince my dad to cancel the marriage, but he said no. Part 3 is up. My husband refused to touch me on our wedding night and blamed it all on me. He refused to look at me on our wedding day. He didn't even kiss me once. The only time he touched me that night was when the photographer asked us to hold hands for a picture. And even then, the way he grabbed my hand was so cold. When it came time for us to go to our room, I was already very upset. He could tell. We got into the room and I went straight to the shower. I took off my dress, showered, and came out. And when I did, he pretended to be asleep. That's when I grabbed him and turned him around. I asked him why he wouldn't touch me or even look at me. That if he didn't want to marry me, he shouldn't have. That's when he told me that he never really wanted to marry me because he had heard things about me. He said that we had some mutual friends, but he refuses to tell me who these friends are. He claims they told him that I had a secret boyfriend and that I had dated many men, which couldn't be further from the truth. First off, my parents are super strict. The only time I was unchaperoned was in school. And he said, "It's your fault, I will never touch you." I started to cry and I called my parents. I literally ran away from him. I told my parents what he said and thankfully they were on my side. My father says the marriage is void if he refuses to have children with me. But guess what? I started doing some digging and I found out that he was the one seeing other women and men. What should I do? My boyfriend is moving in with his girl best friend and I don't trust her one bit. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, it's sending me on Instagram. My boyfriend and I have been together for almost a year. When I met him, he already had a very big group of best friends. One of them was this girl. There's actually another girl in the group, but my boyfriend and this particular girl, let's call her Lacey. Lacey is completely obsessed with my boyfriend. I tell him all the time, but he doesn't want to listen to me. She goes out of her way to spend time with him, and she'll do girlfriend things for him. Sometimes she'll call him and say, "I cooked us dinner, come over to my apartment." She even goes to his apartment and helps him do laundry. Let me go back though. When we started dating, he asked me not to be uncomfortable and that him and her were only good friends. But as soon as I saw them with each other, it was visible that she was in love with him. When he first brought me around to meet his friends, she was super territorial. She would sit next to him and even sat on his lap in front of me. And this made my boyfriend uncomfortable. He asked her to sit on a chair instead of his lap. After that, I asked him if he had feelings for her and he said no. He said he's only ever seen her as a sister, that the thought of hooking up with her makes him want to vomit. Lacey reached out to me and asked me to have lunch with her. Throughout the whole lunch, all she talked about was my boyfriend, and how amazing he is, and how only a good girl deserves him. Part 2 is my boyfriend is moving in with his girl best friend and I don't trust her. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, I was sending me on Instagram. And her and I went to lunch, all she talked about was my boyfriend. That's when she started saying things like, "He only deserves a really good girl." That's when I was straight up with her. I told her that he had already chosen me because he loved me, and that I didn't need her to tell me what my boyfriend needed. You guys should have seen the look on this girl's face. She was shocked that I would defend myself and even talk back to her. Then she said, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel bad." I told her that I didn't feel bad, and that I knew what she was doing. She was basically trying to intimidate me and make me feel that I wasn't good enough for my boyfriend. She denied it and started apologizing. But at least I made it clear to her that I was not stupid, and that she was not gonna walk all over me like she probably did with all of his exes. By the way, one of his past girlfriends actually broke up with her because of this girl. I mean, Lacey. Found this out through one of the other friends. They told me that I needed to be careful with her, and that's why I was prepared to go to lunch with her. Guess what happened though? I called my boyfriend to say hi to him, and that's when he starts yelling at me. He said Lacey called him to tell him that I had attacked her at lunch, that I basically threatened her. I explained to him what happened from my point of view, and he said that she was probably just overreacting. But it was her word against mine. Part 3 is up. My boyfriend is moving in with his girl best friend and I do not trust her. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, it's sending me on Instagram. After Lacey told my boyfriend that I had attacked her and threatened her, he told me to keep my distance. So I did. But that meant that he would hang out with her without me. I found this completely unacceptable. That's when I told my boyfriend that she was manipulative, that she had clearly planned everything out so that he and her could be alone. Then I told him that his ex-girlfriend left him because of her. He told me that I didn't know the full story and that I should mind my own business. That's when I noticed that he wouldn't come over to my apartment every day. And guess why? His best friend Lacey told him that she had a stalker and that she needed my boyfriend to stay over her house so that she could feel protected and safe. I just can't. I told him that she was clearly manipulating him and probably lying about the stalker situation so that he could spend more time with her. And just like that, 2 days later, he told me that they were moving in together and that she miraculously found an apartment big enough for the two of them. In 2 days? I don't think so. I think she had been planning this the whole time, and my boyfriend is just stupid enough to fall for it. I told him if he moved in with her that he should just forget about me. He begged me not to leave him, so I guess I'm still his girlfriend. He's still debating whether or not to move in with her. He says he doesn't want to lose me, but he wants to be able to be there for her. I think I should break up with him, but maybe there's another solution. What do you guys think I should do?